Hello, it's day 32, and I want to talk about dating while fat. Buckle up, diet buddy, because I have a lot to say about this one. I feel like one of the biggest challenges that fat people face when they're dating is pity, being the target of pity. I really dislike people who pity me. And I do feel like when you're entering a relationship, especially a relationship with somebody of a normal weight, sometimes you can feel a vibe of pity coming from your potential partner. You just get a sense that that person feels like they're doing you a favor. And because of that, a lot of times your partner will expect you to put up with less effort in the relationship because you are fat. The idea is that a person doesn't have to work as hard to keep a fat partner because what's the fat partner going to do? Break up with him? If they break up with them, maybe they'll never find somebody else. And I also feel like a lot of times with fat people, there is the expectation that your partner is going to try to um, better you, for lack of a better term. The idea that being fat is something that needs to be fixed, and that a person entering a relationship with you is going to try to fix that. And if they can't do it, then they're going to go find somebody else. When one person in a relationship is fat and the other person isn't, a lot of times that fatness cannot even be discussed between the two partners. It becomes a taboo subject. And anytime the normal weight partner wants to approach it, they feel like they're walking on eggshells. So it can really be uncomfortable for both sides of the relationship. And on top of everything, there's also this panopticon of society looking in on the relationship and trying to judge if it fits into the so-called standard of what a relationship should be. I do get the feeling when I date that there are people on the outside looking in at the relationship, looking at my partner and being like, wow, what a great person. What a great person that normal sized person is to give this huge manatee a chance. Worst of all are the people who actually target overweight people because they believe that they're vulnerable and therefore easier to manipulate, easier to control within a relationship. A lot of times you'll have very overbearing people who only want you because they feel like you have to give them thanks. You have to really appreciate them because they're the only person in the world who would dare touch your disgusting manatee body. I see a lot of euphemism on dating websites. Words like curvy, big beautiful woman, goddess, body. Do you know what I mean? I tend to steer clear of people who either fetishize fatness or are way too scared to talk about it. My last serious relationship was a very long time ago. I haven't dated since like 2012. I have been off the market for a very long time simply because I'm not comfortable with myself. But as I start putting myself out there more, it's made me think about how my past relationships have ended and how it really had a lot to do with my size. My last serious relationship was at the end of high school and beginning of college. Now, when I was in high school, I was probably the closest to normal weight I've ever been. My senior year of high school, toward the end of it, I was probably only 20 pounds overweight. Not huge by any stretch, but also it was noticeable that I was overweight. And in those days, I dated a boy. Let's call him James. Names changed to protect the innocent. Now, I do want to tell you before I get into this story because it's going to make James sound like a total asshole. James was not an asshole. He was just a normal kid of that age. He was doing his best. He was immature just like me. I have a lot of really good memories with him, so let's not, if we do talk about this, let's not judge him too harshly. So James and I started dating when I wasn't all that heavy. I was heavy, but I wasn't huge. And James was a normal weight kid, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But at the end of high school, the summer after I graduated high school, that's when my dad got sick. My dad got really sick. Like the doctors thought he was dying. We all thought he was dying. He recovered. He's fine now, but at the time it was really traumatizing. So, as I ended high school and entered college, I didn't gain the freshman 15. I gained like the freshman 50 or 60. I got huge that first year of college. So one day around spring break of my freshman year of college, I was at James's house. We were in his den watching anime like we usually did. And I remember he turned to me and it was like such a deliberate turn. It was like he turned to look at me. And have you ever had that feeling in a relationship when like you know something's coming, like you know something is up? And James looked at me and he said, you know, I'm thinking about starting some body weight exercises. And I kind of looked at him and I was like, okay, that's cool. James was a normal weight person, but James was skinny. He was like a skinny nerd, the kind who gets skinny just because he's sitting at his computer and just forgets to eat. He was one of those. If you get you know the type. He had never been interested in fitness before. He had never mentioned fitness at all. So it was very odd that he would be bringing it up at that point. But I was like, okay, that's cool. You do you. That sounds fun for you. I'm glad you found a new hobby. But then he continued, wouldn't it be nice if you worked out with me? And I kind of thought about it and I was like, yeah, that might be fun. We could do something like that. What do you mean? Like, go to the gym together, something like that? You want to be that kind of couple? And he said, well, I was thinking I could make a workout plan for you. Huh. It was confusing at the time. And I wasn't really mad about the fact that he wanted me to work out at the time. I was mad that he wanted to make a plan for me. I was like, no, I want to make the plan. If we're going to be doing this, can't you make your own plan and I'll make my plan and it'll be great. But looking back now with my adult knowledge, I realize what he was trying to do. If you go on the internet, if you frequent like men's boards, like if you look on Ask Reddit or like certain men's discussion boards, this question will come up from time to time. And the question is, my girlfriend has gotten very fat and I'm no longer attracted to her. How can I get her back to a better weight that I'm more attracted to? And the advice is usually pretty similar. It goes along the lines of A, start cooking her meals for her. She'll love it if you cook for her. You can start cooking healthy and she'll drop some weight. Or B, offer to work out with her. If you offer to do it with her, she'll love that you're doing activities with her and she won't even notice that she's losing weight. So this was what James was trying to do. It is perfectly fine to not be attracted to somebody. It's perfectly fine to not be attracted to a fat person because they're fat. You can't tell somebody what they should and shouldn't like. So wouldn't it have been better if James would have just come to me and said, listen, you have gotten really heavy. I just want you to know that if this continues, I don't think the relationship can continue. But he didn't. He chose instead to dance around the issue. And instead of just coming to me with the concern in the relationship like a normal human being, he ended up really confusing me. Now, granted, I will say that I'm a little bit unusual in that sense, that I would rather speak very bluntly about being overweight and being fat. I know that a lot of women are very uncomfortable being approached about their weight, but I've never been that way. And James knew that I've never been that way. I've always been very blunt about my size. So the fact that he felt like he had to dance around it, it really put a damper on the relationship. Not just because of my hugeness, but because I felt like he was all... I felt almost like he was lying by omission. So fast forward to the end of that relationship, all right? James and I went to a party at a mutual friend's house. We're going to call this friend Zeke. Zeke. Zeke's a good name for this guy. He strikes me more as a Zeke than his own name. Zeke was kind of a hippie type. He was really into the Beatles and, not shampooing his hair, that sort of person. A really cool dude, and he had a lot of really cool hippie friends. One of these friends, let's call her Janet. Janet was, picture like the golden hippie girl, all right? She was petite, she was vegan, she was skinny, she had this reddish blonde hair, and she was beautiful. She was like a little pixie girl. She was also a genuinely nice person. Remember, I was going through a really tough time at this point, and Janet always seemed to be there like, hey, do you need help? Do you need help cleaning your dorm? Do you need a ride this week? How's your dad? She was just genuinely an actually fun, good person. So Janet was at this party, and James, Zeke, and we were all there, and I think you can kind of see where this is going. So toward the end of that party, James pulled me aside and he said something along the lines of, listen, I'm attracted to Janet. I want your permission to go over there and ask her out. And if she says yes, I want to start dating her. But if she says no, you and I can continue on the way that we always have. I think what he was trying to say in kind of a dumb high school way was he wanted us to take a break and he was going to go explore an option with Janet and I could go like date around as well, and if it worked out, cool, we'd go our separate ways, and if not, we were going to get back together. I think that's what he was trying to say, but that's not what he actually said. So I told him, fine, go ask Janet out, but I'm not going to be here when you get back. And he was like, well, fine. And I was like, well, fine. And that's how the relationship ended up ending. It was not amicable. And James did end up asking Janet out, and Janet shot him down. Good job, Janet. Sisters before misters. And what's even funnier is like later Zeke told me that before James and I ever even got together, James had tried his luck with Janet and it didn't work then either. So I don't really know what he was expecting. But I do think that that relationship ended because I gained weight. And I can't say I blame him. If you're not attracted to someone anymore, then you're just not attracted to them. If it's not working out, you can't make it work out just out of sheer willpower alone. After James, I was in a bad spot. This is when I got the heaviest I had ever gotten. And I dated this rebound guy. I'm not even going to give him a name because it didn't last all that long, and I don't think I would even consider it an official boyfriend. But my body image issues were awful at this point. And this guy that I started dating also had serious body image issues. He was a smaller man. Now, he was one of these shorter guys who thinks that all of his problems in life stem from being short. He would unironically tell me, he would have a better job if he wasn't as short. He would do better in school if he wasn't as short. He would have more friends if he wasn't so short. And the implication, he never said it, but the implication was he would be able to date prettier girls if he wasn't short. That's not true, by the way. He was an awful person. He was a mean person. He was the kind of person who made shortness his entire personality. Every problem he had in life, everything wrong that happened to him was because he was 5'6". But here's the secret. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. He wasn't miserable because he was 5'6". He was miserable because he believed that being 5'6" hampered him in some way. I've always preferred shorter men. I like men who are like my height or like just a couple inches like on either side. I don't like really tall dudes, and that again is just a personal preference. It's just what attracts me. And because of that, I actually thought that this jerk of a guy was more attractive than James. And James was like, I don't know, he was like 6'2", 6'3". He was very tall. And this guy's body image issues made me realize that I cannot allow my fatness to make me a cruel person. I cannot allow my size to become who I am. I can't blame being overweight for my unhappiness, because it will just become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The idea that I'm unhappy because I look a certain way. If this smaller guy had just been okay with being a smaller guy, he would have probably gotten the better job. He would have probably gotten better grades in school. And you know what? He probably would have gotten a prettier girlfriend. But he limited himself because he believed that everybody else was limiting him. And this is why I think that I should start dating again. I have put it off for a very long time because my idea always was once I got to the weight I wanted to be, then I would start dating. But, that's going to be a lot of time. That's going to be a lot of wasted time because I don't think I will ever get down to a point where I feel comfortable with myself. So yeah, I'm going to put some pictures online. I'm going to start dating. I'm going to start dating and I'm going to tell you how it goes. Oh boy. Please tell me your stories. Tell me if you have experienced the pity train. Tell me if somebody has tried to make you like the goddess figure of their fetish land. Let me know.